Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program. The Justice Department is eyeing to deport around 280 illegal Chinese POGO workers. A Manila court dismisses a petition seeking to declare the CPP-NPA as terrorists. And what is the DOJ stand on calls to abolish the Presidential Commission on Good Government, or PCGG? Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla joins us in the program. The Justice Department meets with Chinese embassy officials on Thursday to discuss a deportation of close to 300 Chinese nationals, the majority of whom are illegal Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGO workers. Amid calls by some lawmakers to permanently ban POGOs, the DOJ previously warned that the closure of POGOs may spark a humanitarian crisis since China is imposing restrictions on those who work in the gambling industry. The department also estimates that some 40,000 Chinese nationals could still be working in 216 illegal POGOs. In a statement, China also vows to work with Philippine authorities to crack down on POGO-related crimes. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla. Secretary Remulla, welcome back to the source. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Maraming salamat, Pinky. Good morning. Good morning to all.
Sir, meeting with China's Chargé d'Affaires, Zhu Zhiyong, that happened yesterday. Can you tell us more about the meeting? Ano ho ba yung main concern?
Ang main concern natin is really the protocol for deportation that we will be undertaking. We have 281 POGO workers in custody, and all of them have expired visas. So they're considered as overstaying aliens. Kaya under our law, we can ship them back for summary deportation. Yan po ang ating concern ngayon. Siyempre, ang problema lagi is the protocol for deportation dahil sa under the pandemic, marami pong requirements ang China tungkol sa swab tests. And we agreed that kung dalawa pong test ang kinakailangan, basta Philippines po ang may eroplano, let's say Philippine Airlines, 48-hour and 24-hour test, PCR tests are in order. At kung Chinese airline po ang magdadala, 3 PCR tests po ang magiging requirement. So we are calibrating everything now kasi nga marami pa tayong huhulihin na iba. Pero ang mahalaga na sa panahon na ito, wag lang tayo magtatambak ng maraming tao sa isang lugar na hindi natin sila ma-deport on time. We do not want 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 people waiting to be deported. Gusto natin, as they come, we deport them.
Secretary, first of all, this 281 POGO in custody, where are they?
They are now in Pampanga, itong mga 281. Although I think that we still have some more in custody na pwede ho nating maybe I don't know if the NBI has in custody already some of them also.
Okay, but there are 281 in custody in Pampanga.
Yes. Yes.
And who's paying for their being in custody?
Well, they have their own hotels which they're paying right now. And of course, the cost of the deportation will be also their cost. Kasi po, the protocol really is, the accepted practice is, those to be deported have to pay for their own plane fare.
Opo, so ibig sabihin wala po tayong ginagastos, ganun ho ba yun para sa kanila because of overstaying, basically illegally staying in the country na po?
Depende ho yan, Pinky. It will depend also. No? Pag hinuli natin sila and we put them under our custody sa ating holding area, gagastos na tayo ng pera para pakainin sila to make sure that they're healthy. At pero ang talagang we will still ask them to pay for their repatriation. Pero in the case na wala talaga silang pambayad na, then we will pay for it.
I see. So in custody in Pampanga, sino po ang sumasagot nung expenses nila doon?
They're staying in the hotel where they were really billeted. No, we just held them there. They're being guarded in the hotel where they're billeted. So hindi na sila lalabas doon.
Okay.
We already have what you call we have custody over them in a place where they are really being billeted. Binabantayan natin sila doon.
Okay. Secretary, so marami ho kasi ito, no? Let's stick to the 281 that are set to be deported. When will this happen? When will they be deported? And is there a problem with China? Meron ho bang balakid with China? Even if sabihin po natin, tanggalin na po natin kasi sinabi niyo na po may health protocols, hindi ho ba? What about possible charges? Because that's something you mentioned during the hearing of the Department of Justice.
Well, number one, China will have to validate their identities. We will have to submit to them the identities of the people at i-validate po yan ng China. Pag sinabi po ng China na subject sila yung tao, then they will allow us to deport them already. And then that will be subject to the medical protocol. Yung isang sinasabi ko lang no sa hearing non Pinky, yung mga umabot na balita nga sa amin sa ating pagre-research tungkol sa bagay na ito. When they get to China, their passports are cut up, pinuputol na yan, hindi na sila pwedeng gumamit ulit ng passport. At marami sa kanila, even 7 years after the fact, sinisingil pa rin sila ng government sa kanilang earnings sa POGO. Well, it's not our problem, it will be their problem. But sometimes, this can give rise to many of the difficulties to people. Of course, wala na tayong pakialam doon. No? Pero syempre, we are also worried about the humanitarian aspect of it, Pinky.
Okay. Yun po yung kasing tinawag na humanitarian crisis. Ano po? But it's interesting.
Hindi rin yun. Pinky, there's another angle to that. No? Kasi some people wanted us to close down the POGOs and arrest everybody. Mayroon kasi ganyan xenophobic, no? Ang tawag natin xenophobic o minsan racist na nga yung nagiging approach. Kasi I just want to tell people nga na if we take this attitude at nag-round up tayo ng sabihin natin 10,000 sa kanila, saan natin sila dadalhin? Number one. Number two, sino magpapakain sa kanila? And number three, how long will we keep them before they are deported? So we have to calibrate our actions as responsible people would, Pinky.
There's so much to talk about here, sir, because, I'm sure hindi lang naman po yung mga POGOs yung illegally staying in the country. Pero let me go back to a lot of the stuff that you said. So sabi nyo, let's stick to the 281. Bibigay niyo po yung pangalan sa China, i-check ng China yung kanilang pangalan, kung maaari, tama ho ba, Secretary? Maaari silang bumalik sa China, ganun ba? I mean, is there a possibility that China will say, no, we will not take them back?
That is a possibility. Pero ang alam ko, they want to take back the people. That's what we agreed on yesterday. Na kukunin nila, pag talagang subject nila yung tao, nag-overstay sa Pilipinas, and they have to be deported, tatanggapin sila ng China. So that is a very clear fact. Ang mga
may kaso man sila o wala, Secretary, tatanggapin sila ng China?
Yes, tatanggapin sila ng China once their identities are verified.
Opo. Next question, what if the identity is not verified? For example lang po iba yung ginamit nilang pangalan dito at hindi po ma-verify sa China. Paano po yun? May ganun bang instance, sir?
Pinky, ang alam ko naman kasi dito sa China, they have complete biometric information of everybody in their country. So hindi naman nila pwede itanggihan kung talagang kanila. So I'm not afraid of that possibility, Pinky, kasi hindi nila pwede itanggihan. Pero pag itanggi nila, the people will become stateless then, Pinky.
Oo.
Pag naging stateless yan, then we will have it will be what we call a humanitarian concern as a country for people who are stateless within our own country. Then that is another issue.
But that is something, sabi mo, you're not concerned about that because you're saying meron silang biometrics. Sabihin po natin, hindi po nag-match yung pangalan na ibibigay ninyo sa China. Match-check naman po yung biometrics. Basically, that's what you're saying. And the real name attached to that biometrics will surface.
Yes. Pinky, they have a police attaché in our country. And I know that they cannot lie to us about these things. Hindi ako natatakot sa bagay na yan kasi nga we know their capability, their science, their equipment. Kaya hindi yan mawawala sa information base nila kung yan ay talagang tiga China.
Okay. Ito po pinag-uusapan pa lang natin yung 280. When do you think the deportation will begin?
We're looking at October 1 or 2 as a start of the deportation. And this will continue on. Pagka nasanay na tayo sa sistema, then this will continue at a very fast clip. Hopefully, we'll be rounding up 500 people a day. Kung kaya, Pinky, we will be doing that as far as we can do it. Siyempre, we will also have to consult with the PAGCOR on this matter, and of course our policymakers on what our stand will be on this. Finally, are we going to allow the legal POGOs to stay, or are we really closing down on the POGOs? So ito nga, dapat pag-usapan pa talaga ng policymakers.
Opo, pero yung 280, October 1, hopefully mag-umpisa yung deportation. And how long will this take? Is this going to be just one plane? Isang puntahan lang po?
Kasya na yan, isang aeroplano, 1 or 2 airplanes. Sigurado yan, in 2 airplanes kasya na sila.
Okay.
And yung expenses na lang, kung may pambayad o wala, yan po yung ating titingnan.
Pero maaari bang tayo magbayad?
Possible eh. Pag tayo nagdi-deport, tayo nagbabayad. Pag requested ng China na hulihin natin dito, ang China nag-request, si China magbabayad. Pero ito, tayo mismo nagkukusa, tayo ang magbabayad.
Is that the universal, is that really how it is, sir? Could you educate me on that na pag tayo po ang gustong magpa-deport, tayo ho talaga magbabayad?
Ang first rule dyan, Pinky, the person being deported pays. Pero kung walang means yung tao na dinideport, then we pay for it kung tayo ang nagpapadeport. Ang China naman, nagkaroon na tayo ng kaso ng pre-pandemic 2019, meron silang pinapahuli at pinadideport, nahuli sila. These were more than 200 people. They were kept in Quezon City Jail. Pero pumasok ang pandemic, hindi pa sila nakakalis. For 9 months, binayaran ng China ang kanilang board and lodging at lahat ng kanilang deportation fees.
I see. Secretary, we just need to take a very short break. The source will be right back. Watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla. Sir, pinag-usapan pa lang natin yung 280. Let's go further down. Okay. Meron pa po, sabi nyo, na posible, let's be clear on this, 40,000 POGO workers who are illegally staying in the country. Is this still the accurate figure, sir? And did I get it right?
We're conducting surveillance now. We're asking the police and the immigration officials to conduct a surveillance on the illegal POGOs that are still in the country, or if they are still operating. The 40,000 figure, Pinky, was arrived at because there are 200 illegal POGOs approximately on the list given by PAGCOR. And if each of them will have 200 workers to be viable, then that's 40,000 people already, Pinky.
Got it.
So we're basing that figure on that. Kaya ito, pagka nakita na natin na nandun yan, huhulihin natin, ipoprocess natin, we will give the information to China. When China says there are people, then we will send them back to China. And sana, meron silang means to pay for their own deportation, then they will be deported on their own expense. But if not, we will spend our own money for this.
Just like the 280. Okay. How do you find them, sir? Paano sila hanapin?
Pinky, may master list ng PAGCOR, pati yung mga address kung saan sila nag-ooperate. So, hindi naman mahirap. Ito ngayon yung pinupuntahan isa-isa ng ating law enforcement authorities to make sure that they are still there. And if not, we will rely on reports of other operations that are not even listed in PAGCOR for us to conduct the operations to close down these illegal POGOs.
Here's an area that could possibly be considered, sir. Because they came in as legal POGOs, pwede po kasi gamitin yun as illegal POGOs din. In fact, that's what Senator Pimentel was saying. Kasi kapag may legal, pwede din pong gamitin yung legal as a front ng illegal na POGO. Hindi ho ba ibig sabihin, gawa sila ng isa, pero meron pang ibang kumpanya na illegal. So how do you determine that if you're just, if let's say it's PAGCOR or other authorities to find these illegal POGOs? Because yung sinasabi niyo ho atang 211, tama ho ba ako, hindi nag-renew ng kanilang permit. So paano po yung talagang illegal na? Yung hindi ho talaga, wala ho talagang permiso from the very beginning?
Pinky, siguro 95% of them started as legal POGOs, Pinky. That's the estimate given to me by the PAGCOR people. Kasi nga, kaya nga malaki ang income natin dyan dati, kasi nga legal sila, they were paying their dues. They were paying the taxes, they were paying the fees na talagang kinokolektahan natin.
Okay.
So when this figure dropped, syempre inaudit yan ng PAGCOR, nakita nila na marami na hindi nagbabayad. That's the basis for our declaring that they're already illegal. Pero yung mga talagang nagpamasok dito, nagtayo na illegal POGO, ibang usapan yan, Pinky. We have some information on a few of them, but probably not all of them. Pero ang talagang lumalabas dito, many of them who previously were legal became illegal because they stopped paying PAGCOR and they stopped paying their dues to the Philippine government. Thus, we have to really close them down and send them home. Yan ang definite na kailangan gawin.
Hindi nila ni-renew yung kanilang, tama ho ba yun, permit, no, sir? Ganun yun, di ba? Am I right, they need to renew it on a yearly basis? Okay, so that's where your 40,000 number came from. Now, quickly, let's talk about that concern, humanitarian concern. You mentioned this a while ago, sir, versus humanitarian crisis. So, sabihin po natin, Secretary, 40,000 ho talaga yung workers na illegal na nananatili po dito sa Pilipinas. Is that going to be a humanitarian crisis sakaling kailangan po silang ipabalik sa China?
Pagka hinuri natin na sabay-sabay lahat yan, Pinky, if we take into custody 40,000 people, then that would be a big problem, Pinky. Kasi sabi ko nga, we are calibrating all our actions in accordance with our capability to deport them in the soonest possible time. Yan lang naman ang talagang concern natin, Pinky. Alam mo, like I would say humanitarian crisis because nangyari nito sa mga Pilipino sa Saudi Arabia. Yung may mga tao tayo, mga kababayan tayo noon, mahigit ilang libo yon, mga 6 hanggang 8,000 yan, na nakatira, tawag din, sabi nila, sa desyerto at marami ron sa ilalim ng tulay. Ang tawag nila, mga tao sa ilalim ng tulay sa Saudi Arabia. At saka napakatagal nagdusa ng mga kapwa natin Pilipino rito. It took us more than 2 years to deport them, to bring them home. Napakalaking expense ang kailangan dyan. And we do not want that to happen here. O nga, maraming galit na galit dahil lumabas yung 2 video na yon. Ako, galit na galit din ako eh. Pero pag we react on a matter of emotion on this matter, and we start catching everybody, how do we manage 40,000 people to be deported when our capability to deport is way below that? Kaya ayaw natin na we will get a situation na hindi natin kaya on our hands. Or kung kaya man natin, pahihirapan natin ang ating bansa with that kind of setup. We just have to behave as responsible people so that we will be able to deport them at the proper pace. Kung saan kaya ng ating logistics, kung ano ang practical sa aviation protocols ngayon, how many flights per day pumapasok, then we will base all our actions on that also.
On POGO, sir, what is your stand? Dapat hubang ipagpatuloy ito? Dapat hubang i-ban? Or kailangan lang to institute stricter and additional reforms?
Well, definitely yung last option na sinabi mo, no? Institute reforms. Kasi nga, if we will want to get them out of here immediately, we have to phase them out in a way that will least damage our economy. Kasi marami na lumapit sa amin dyan. Some congressmen have spoken about it also, some lawmakers like Joey Salceda, that the real estate industry will be affected, and so will other industries be affected in the country. Yun lang naman ang ating dyan eh. Kung kaya na natin itigil yan, itigil na natin. Pero kung hindi naman, ayusin natin ang sistema para hindi sila nakakagambala sa ating mga kababayan.
As DOJ Secretary, sir, and knowing what you know right now and the added burden it has on the DOJ, the Bureau of Immigration, the PNP, etc., for you, dapat bang ipagpatuloy o dapat bang i-ban na ang POGO?
We continue with the manageable POGOs, no? And we have to put everything in order. If we will continue with it, we have to put everything in order.
Okay.
Kasi parang Pinky, nung pinag-aralan ko yung corruption sa immigration, most of it was POGO related. Kailangan talaga makontrol lahat ng pasok at labas ng tao dito sa ating bansa.
Okay. Another short break, sir. We will be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla. Secretary, the Manila RTC junked the government's case to declare the CPP-NPA as a terrorist organization. Hindi naman po kayo yung DOJ nung panahon na yun, 2017. What will be the next move of the DOJ?
Pinky, the law that was used in the RTC case is already a law that was repealed by the Anti-Terror Act of 2020.
Right.
Kaya appealing the case will not serve us any good because or filing a motion for reconsideration.
Okay.
Kasi wala na naman batas talaga na dapat na pag-usapan dito dahil the law that is covered by the case is a repealed law. So under the new law, the jurisdiction for proscription of terrorist organizations will lie in the Court of Appeals. Kaya we are now preparing our cases for the Court of Appeals for proscription of the CPP-NPA.
I see. Kasi just a brief background on this. Ang gamit ho kasi dito yung Human Security Act, hindi ho ba? Which was binago na nga ng anti-terrorism law. And yung proscription po, yun po yung kasi kayo, government, designation po kayo. Tama ho ba yung proscription that will be up to the courts, which is basically now the Court of Appeals. So you're readying a case, tama ho ba, before the Court of Appeals?
Yes, ang ganito yan, Pinky. Ang designation is executive, ang proscription is judicial. So ngayon, ang kaso will be filed before the Court of Appeals kasi sila na may jurisdiction under the Anti-Terror Act.
But I'm sure this could be very interesting for you as well. You're a lawyer, sir. Ang sabi ho kasi dito, pag-usapan lang natin, ang sabi po ni Judge, it's rebellion, not terrorism on the deaths committed by the CPP-NPA. And thus, yung rebellion is not terrorism. In fact, meron ho doon na guerrilla warfare is not synonymous to terrorism. What do you say to that?
Pinky, this is very peculiar itong case na to because it's ex parte. The CPP-NPA did not participate in the case. So the judge was the one deciding vis-a-vis the government with nobody in the defense except the judge himself in the way that he wrote the decision. Kaya very peculiar ito, Pinky. It's an ex parte proceeding where the issue was very well defined and the evidence presented was very well documented. But when the decision came, there were facts alleged not in evidence in the decision, not proven, and of course there were issues raised that were not even an issue in the cases filed, like red tagging, Pinky. I do not see how the red tagging issue should have been tackled by the court because it was never an issue in this case. Kaya nga, it became a treatise on how to defend the National Democratic Front or maybe the progressive, so-called progressive movement, no? yung mga taong talaga lumalaban sa gobyerno na gusto talagang pabagsakin ang gobyerno ng Republika ng Pilipinas.
But last question, sir, ubos na yung oras, yung taking arms based on political cause are not terrorists, and that armed conflict is rooted on social ills. I think that's what Bayan was saying.
Well, Pinky, that was never adduced in evidence. There was never even a statement made by the CPP-NPA in court kasi hindi nga sila nag-participate.
Yeah.
So for that to come from the judge just betrays the feeling of the judge towards the case. Ibig sabihin, the judge already had bias from the very beginning.
All right. Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla. Sir, I wish we had more time. I hope we have a part 2, but in the meantime, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Pinky, at maraming salamat din sa inyong pagkakataong binigay sa akin. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.